to be completely honest with everyone, like the whole this situation that I was going through literally had me in hospital this year. And I think that for me, it's interesting now it's adopted a whole new meaning because Stronger was so positively received, and it saw, so many lovely things about it. And so when I play this live, it's just a whole different level of connection with the fan base and friends that I have online. And that's a really special thing about it, is when I play that song now, it has a whole different meaning to when I was recording it.
Cassidy, we are, well, weeks, I guess, or maybe I think as we're calling, almost exactly a month away from the release of the album that's coming out.
Yeah.
An album that almost feels like a diary come to life in a way. Does that mean that you are starting to get a little anxious and nervous about this deadline or this date coming closer? How are you feeling right now? Are you calm? Are you chill? Or are you like, oh boy, it's coming?
I'm actually really excited. The responses to the singles I think they always kind of give you an idea of what people are going to think of the album. And I feel very lucky because, especially with the release of Stronger and Getting Better and Nothing Left to Lose, the whole response to those songs has been madness for me. And I think it's insane to say that the sophomore record's going to be released in under a month. That's insane. And I can't wait for people to get their hands on a physical copy. Obviously we have vinyl as well, which is super cool. And then I've just announced one of the first things that I'm doing in 2026 off the back of the album. Obviously I announced Monsters of Rock Cruise, but also my headline UK tour called Finish What We Started. So everything's starting to get really exciting, and I have a jam-packed 2026 off the back of this album. So it's created, this album has already created so many fantastic opportunities for me. So I feel very grateful for that.
Yeah. So you're enjoying the calm before the storm, if you will. Get ready, I guess. You mentioned two of the singles, Getting Better and Stronger. I think you mentioned before that you said that Getting Better was somewhat like a missing puzzle piece of a story. You started with Stronger. I called it jokingly almost like a diary come to life. Everything kind of feels like in the same emotional story or universe in a way. But those two songs specifically, because you called that out, what was throughout the creative process, what was the moment you realized that these two songs in particular were really part of the same story, if you will?
Yeah, I think I went through a very public, a big change in not only my professional life, but my personal life. And when I was, trying to work out how to respond to the situation, professionalism is always such a big factor in it for me. And I think that the only professional way to do things was to, put out music about the situation. And it's funny because Getting Better was actually, that was written prior to the album, but I was writing it from the perspective of a girl who felt very much in a situation where things were going to get better, but it kind of feels like a bit of a prophecy now. And then obviously Stronger was a late addition, and It just kind of fell together really nicely. And, like you said, I always describe it as that missing jigsaw piece puzzle, because really that's what those two songs were for me. And Nothing Left to Lose is again, another puzzle piece, because I kind of, was able to put out that message about strength and, trying to get over these massive hurdles in my life where, I'm pretty honest about it and open. Like, there were days where I just did not want to, look online. There were days where I did not want to get out of bed, but music was this driving, I had this urge to create when that all went down and happened. And I think that, everything really, I'm a huge believer in everything happens for a reason. And I think, good people, and if you have good intentions, then I think that does win in the end. And I just felt like I needed to deliver that to people online and show them kind of what I'm about and remind them, what I'm about as well.
In very different ways, you and I are both part of an industry that likes to take somebody's own truth and distort it for many different reasons. So how hard or how challenging is it to make art, or an album in this case, that is so autobiographical in a way, that because that for all the reasons, sometimes the right ones, sometimes the wrong ones, things will be misinterpreted, some things will be twisted. In the right reason, your fans are going to listen to your songs and they're going to tell you, when you meet them, oh, that song means this to me, right? So like something that you write will get a different meaning once it's out. But then also just like, that our industry is not always the nicest industry. So how was that for you, kind of allowing yourself to be so open and vulnerable, knowing that that might go all different directions afterwards?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it was quite difficult and quite, it gave me a little bit of anxiety when I was starting to put out music after going through such a public situation where I will, always stand by what I said in many ways, that it wasn't something that was my choice. And I think that with the music, like you said, a lot of people choose to twist situations. And I think what I figured out through this situation is that people will do things, bad things, and then try and twist the situation and make you the victim. And that's a really scary thing. And a lot of people can do that. But what my intentions was to, put out once and for all, what actually happened and the truth. And I think that, people that choose to twist that from that point onwards, then, that's their problem. And I think that things do bite people back, eventually. I really do believe in that. And it's, definitely a hard industry in that way. But I think that, like I said, you try to be a good person, and you try to, have good morals about you, and work in a professional manner. And I think that, people see that. And I think that people really do see through the lies and the manipulation. And with nothing left to lose, it was kind of a bit of a women empowerment moment for me. And I speak a lot about this kind of, life pivoting, I could say, conversation that I had with one of my ex-boyfriends at the time. And, I had someone who was very close to me say that, he didn't like female fronted bands. And that just really gave me a whole new perspective on things. And it's a very interesting perspective. And obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it's just hard as a female fronted band to see someone that has that perspective in 2025, where hopefully people are becoming, more, just they're becoming more aware to the situation. With it is difficult for women in the industry, and it really just did give me that sense of awareness that this is still happening now. But people will spin what they may at the end of the day, and people will manipulate and they will lie. And I think that with nothing left to lose, it was kind of just like, I'm going to tell my truth, and you can say what you may, but people know the truth at the end of the day, and it always comes out.
I'm losing my mind, losing my faith, run out of time, got nowhere to go. I'm losing my grip.
You're not necessarily at the end of your career, but you've been in this for quite some time. You've been surrounded by, I mean, I cannot even imagine, because I mean, obviously I know that still in 2025, you know, almost every female artist that enters a venue is asked by security if they're the girlfriend, the wife, or the merch girl instead of the artist. So it's definitely still a problem. So I can't know as a guy what that's like. You've luckily also been surrounded with people that have supported you and have mentored you. I know that Pauline was really important for you since you were very, very young. So in a way, you've been also extremely privileged that you've had that support of people around you, you know, for quite some time. That probably makes you today more mature than other people who have the same age as you, that are maybe only really just getting started and don't have that team around you. From people like that have supported you, are there things that you still take with you every day? Like, are there certain like lessons you've learned from people that did look out for you, if you will, that have always stuck with you?
Totally. Obviously, you mentioned Pauline. Pauline, I'm forever in debt to the man, because he not only did he take me under his wing as you know, a young artist and a budding artist, but also kind of like his, you know, daughter in a lot of ways as well. And you know, whenever something is happening in my life, be it positive or negative, or, you know, obviously difficult, not negative,
Right.
he's always been a really supportive figure for me and my family. And he is just the most honest, compassionate, lovely human being ever. And seeing someone of that stature and, you know, of you know, that caliber as well. He is such a world-class musician, and then have his head so in the right place is such a you know, a beautiful thing to see in the industry. And like you said, 99% of the people that I have around me are so lovely and so good, and
Right.
that 100% outweighs all the difficulties that you kind of encounter in the scene. Even, you know, for instance, Harum Scarum, the boys in Harum Scarum have been so overwhelmingly supportive of me. And you know, I was speaking to Michael Sweet the other day of Striper, and he's so lovely. And these are people that and then a major one, my dad as well. Like, my dad has been in the scene for many years. And, you know, when I needed someone, even at 22, when I needed someone to hold my hand and a shoulder to cry on, he was there. And I think that's something that, you know, a lot of people miss when they, you know, see the dad and daughter thing on stage. But, you know, really it's a cutthroat industry, and it's nice to have that, in a sense, a bit of a security blanket with my dad being there. And I know obviously that will not always be the case, but I just feel very lucky, and I feel very grateful to have the support system that I do, because I really damn needed it this year.
And I apologize for turning this conversation to a therapy session, but
No, that's okay. That's so okay. I love that.
That's because you are obviously going to be. We said at the beginning of this interview, you're going to be extremely busy next year. You've got, you know, tons of shows coming your way as well. Then, you know, when artists do, you know, open up quite a lot on an album and be very vulnerable and very personal, with and sharing some darker pages of their own story. A question I like to ask them is, well, what's next then as these songs become popular? Because some of the songs that we've been talking about are obviously the singles that have been released, which means that these are the songs that not only most of your fans already know, but also these are the songs that every show that you're going to play to support this album are the ones you are definitely going to play.
Yeah.
Which means that you need to talk about, or maybe even relive, some really shitty moments every fucking night you play these songs. And so the question I have for you, and I want to make it a double question to add your dad into the mix as well. Like, so first for you, like having to sing these songs like Getting Better and Nothing Left to Lose, is that, every time you play that song, does that make it a little bit better, or do you basically now are forced to deal with PTSD every time that you sing this song? And then as a side question, what's that like? Like, have you spoken to your dad about that? Like, how is it like for him to see, or to understand, I guess, in a very direct way, how his daughter had to deal with stuff like that? That must be, as a father myself, that must be pretty heartbreaking for him as well.
I think the whole entire situation was heartbreaking for my entire family.
Right.
But I think that with performing the catalogue of these songs off the new record and Bittersweet, like you said before, it's been a bit of a therapy session, but to be honest, this album is kind of like listening to it back to front. You can see that it's very much a diary of my life, and I explain it in terms of like, it is the most raw and honest and authentic that I've ever been in songs. So it definitely is kind of down that trajectory of like a therapy, I use it as my outlet, definitely. But it's funny because when I go to play songs like this live, or even when I'm rehearsing with the band, it develops and it brings on a whole new meaning. And it is very healing in a lot of ways as well, playing these songs, because a song that once, for instance, Stronger, I recorded Stronger when I was definitely at my lowest point. And, to be completely honest with everyone, like the whole, this situation that I was going through literally had me in hospital this year. And I think that, for me, it's interesting now it's adopted a whole new meaning, because Stronger was so positively received, and it saw, so many lovely things about it. And so when I play this live, it's just a whole different level of connection with the fan base and friends that I have online. And that's a really special thing about it, is when I play that song now, it has a whole different meaning to when I was recording it. Yeah. And in terms of my dad, I think when I'm on stage, and I'm speaking for him, but I know these are things he's said, but I think there's a level of, a whole new level of connection as like father and daughter now, because of, what we kind of went through together and what we've seen happen with Cassidy Paris as a result. It's just, it's a bonding thing. And, I think we're both really proud of each other when we kind of look at each other on stage. And that's something that I don't think anyone can kind of take away from us.
Awesome. Well, that's a beautifully positive note to wrap us up. You'll be busy. The album's going to come out soon. And then, all your fans can listen to every page of your journey or your diary that has come to life, and get ready for all the shows. Cassidy, thank you so much for opening up today. I really appreciate it, and letting us know a little bit more about the emotional weight of all these songs as you were creating them. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best with the album release cycle.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's been so much fun chatting to you, and I can't wait to hopefully see you in the States.
Yeah, absolutely. Come over here. I know that we're, just a 14-hour flight away.
Yeah, that's okay. Awesome. I'll do that 14-hour flight in a heartbeat. Thank you so much, Jasper. I appreciate it.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.